Lives Matter. That's going to be discussed, or
So that's one topic that we can
okay,
discuss today.
Yeah.
okay.
If that's where you guys want to start, then that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah,
I'm perfectly fine with doing it there. Starting on a social issue, just to kind of get some, some good thoughts from everybody.
Yeah.
Kind of get a basis, and I guess we'll go ahead and start the intros and stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have what's his name? Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and have you start and just kind of give us an about yourself and just the basis of who you are as a person, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely do that. All right. Well, as you said, my name is Jimmy. I currently live in Concord, North Carolina. So I'm actually like 5 minutes off of Charlotte. So everything that's been happening around this area is actually, as far as the effect that it's had, it's definitely been something that's real close. And I've had a lot of people who've actually been in the area, and it's crazy going on. I'm currently, as far as the way I am, I'm more of a logical kind of factual person. The way I think about it, and to me, nothing is. I won't deny anything as long as there's proof behind it. It's like there's something that we've discussed. Chill and I discussed. We're both not religious people. There's certain things that I can believe, but as far as a multitude of a lot of things that jump into that, there's a lot of things that I don't believe. And as far as this topic that we want to talk about, the Black Lives Matter, the one thing I really want to bring up that I don't understand is why I understand, the reason why they have the whole emphasis on Black Lives Matter, but to me, it would be more meaningful. I believe it would be more meaningful if it wasn't just a Black Lives Matter, but more of a if lives mattered in general, because just because one type of person is being hurt, it does not mean it doesn't affect others. I mean, we're all the same regardless of the color on the outside. So why should it be Black Lives Matter? I mean, I'm Hispanic. If 15 people in the next 6 months get killed by police that are Hispanic, are we going to have a Hispanic Lives Matter march? No, it shouldn't be a racial thing. It shouldn't be more of an open-ended kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I mean, it should, if you're going to include race, it should be the human race, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. It should be a human race issue if it's going to be racial.
Okay, so the way I see it, the whole Black Lives Matter started from what police officers killing innocent black people, correct? That's what the whole outrage is about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can see that. I can see people getting angry over, their fellow citizens being killed by police officers,
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not just black people who are affected by it, it's every race,
Yeah.
White people were affected, Hispanics, Asians, Indian, Native American, Middle Eastern. Every single demographic is killed by a cop every year, and I think we need more oversight on it. That's one thing I think we need. And the police officers who do commit these, murders definitely need to be penalized more so than they are. They need to be treated the same as just regular citizens like you and me. So that's just the way I see it.
From my perspective, one thing that I realized that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that these so-called cops that are killing people, it's not necessarily they're branding them. So what they don't realize is it's not the cop, it's not the person with the uniform, but it's the person themselves, regardless if they're a cop, regardless if they were, a firefighter, a police, a lawyer. It's the person that's corrupt. So in general, when people say, "Oh, these cops are corrupt," no, it's not the cops. It's not the whole, because
It's too much generalization.
exactly, it's like us for the military. When we were all in the military, when one person would do wrong, what they would say, the whole military as a whole is corrupt. No, it's not necessarily. It's that one person, but they want to emphasize that when one person commits this crime, that everybody in that society, in that racial or in that group, should be reprimanded for something that they haven't committed.
Exactly, and that's, from my perspective, I see it as a very large problem in our society that we have a tendency to generalize the bad things that happen in the world. And we need to realize that there's a cause and effect for these things. These things happen for a reason. It's not just random, senseless killings. It may seem like that, but there's a reason behind these things. And a lot of it has to do with human psychology and how people are raised as children and the environments that they're in, and honestly, just a lot of the dogmatic thoughts that are around. You look at the Bible Belt, and I personally believe that the Bible Belt is one of the main causes for slavery, because Christianity said slavery was okay. So, and at the time, we didn't have, atheism really wasn't a big thing, and a lot of people looked to Christians because they were supposed to be the moral high ground, basically. And so whenever you say that slavery is okay through your religion, and your government is saying, okay, that's fine, you can have slaves because of your religion, it just leads to problems. And that's why we have the racism, because the religion still says that slavery is good. That hasn't changed. Christianity has not changed their opinion on slavery. For 2,000 years, it's been the fucking same, as far as we know. And that's a severe problem, and I believe that it's a detriment to the human condition. It creates, just bad situations. And I believe that the only way that we overcome racism and racial tension in this country is to inform people and to give people reason and knowledge, instead of just having them follow these dogmatic religions that teach them, that, oh, well, killing is bad, but only if you do it this way, or, it's not bad if you stone somebody because they got a divorce, I mean, it's a major problem for us. And I'm not even just picking on Christianity. It's religion in general, in my opinion. It creates dogmatic regimes and dogmatic thoughts for people to follow, which are not part of the human condition.
So that basically emphasizes back to the whole, everything that's been going on around the country. And for me, what I it's like Anthony just previously said, that it needs to be more oversight, and that's the problem. There's not enough training going around. You have these police officers who are, who were given a couple of weeks of training on a 9mm, and they think, oh, they're professionals. That they think, oh, I have all this, I have a badge, I'm above the law. That's the issue that's happening. These people are given way too much leniency. So, I mean, it's just like the man, and this wasn't even a black, the 17-year-old who was tased for around 20 seconds. He went into a coma for 3 days. The police officer picked him up and dropped him on his head, on his face, and he got 4 years. I mean, the man literally almost killed a kid, a 17-year-old, and he gets 4 years. That's yeah, this is it's ridiculous, because if anybody else had done that, if the police officer had walked up to somebody else who was doing that to this kid, to the 17-year-old, he wouldn't have gotten 4 years. He would have gotten attempted murder. He would have got charged with assault, with a multitude of things. But just because it's a police officer, it's a whole different story. I mean, there's so many stories like this where a police officer has been caught doing absolutely every possible thing that could be conceivably be wrong, and all there are is they're forced to resign or they're put on administrative leave with pay. What? So basically, they're set on a vacation. You're still getting paid. They're still receiving all their benefits. I mean, how is that justice?
Well, and part of the problem there is the fact that these cops and these people out here, they have very immoral thoughts about death. So death really doesn't matter to them. It's not a thing because they think that they're going someplace else. For the majority of these people, they're Christians, so death doesn't worry them to the extent that it would, I assume, an atheist or somebody who doesn't believe that they're going someplace after death. So these people, they go and they kill these people, and then they justify it to themselves because they say, oh, well, they're in a better place. Yeah, they may have died a fucking terrible way, but they're in a better place. And that's a humongous problem. People aren't opening their eyes to the truth, realizing that this is the only place. This is the only life that we get. That this is it. These cops need to be taught the meaning of life and how much any life has. I don't think they're getting proper instruction on that.
What were you gonna say,
I
Shu?
blame that on our society. I'm sorry.
I was just agreeing with them. I was also going to add that, yeah, Kip, you're pointing out that it's a culture issue, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. That is a culture issue. That's why we have terrorism over in, the Middle East. Like, Islam carries within it a culture of terrorism. It's convert or kill. That's it. Convert them or kill them if they don't want to convert.
Yeah.
It's in the Quran.
Yeah.
And it's existentially wrong. It's a terrible way to go about living. It really is. Because people sit there and they say, well, as humans we're not compassionate, and I think that's completely wrong. I think humans often are very compassionate towards one another. Like they always say, racism isn't born, it's bred. And that's the problem. That's a culture issue. And that's the reason why we have, people are fighting cultures against cultures. And it makes no sense because when it comes down to it, we're all just one culture. We have one human culture, and that's it. That's why I don't believe in the fact that there's such thing as a cultural appropriation. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's an absolutely absurd thought to have, And the problem is in our culture, and that's something that we need to overcome. We honestly need to overcome our cultures, and we need to create a new one. And I believe that we are doing that through science and reason. I believe that we've done a science and atheism has done a decent job at showing people the truth of the matters in a way that is conducive to thought and reason. And it may be scary to some people. I've had that conversation a lot. A lot of people are afraid of what's out there. And yeah, I mean, the fact that we can get struck by an asteroid at any time is a fucking scary thought. But that's why I believe that we need to put our trust and our faith, well, not faith, but we need to put our trust into science reason and say, hey, these scientists want to help preserve humanity and want to further humanity. Let's go down that path, because I feel like that's a much wiser choice than to sit there and be tied down by a dogmatic religion that teaches you that there's only one God, or that you have to worship this God, or else this bad thing will happen to you. What fucking right does that God have to tell me anything? Who is he? Shown or made himself. That's the question that I want a lot of people to sit there and ask themselves. I guess that's the problem with humanity. The fact that people can't see that people are able to lie to themselves too easily.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Hold on.
You're good.
Sorry, it's all the audio's messing up.
I know you're doing admin shit over there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Jimmy, you can add your input. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, in this conversation, it seems like it's combining right now. It's kind of combining religion with the whole perspective of lives matter and everything. But I don't know. For me, I definitely understand what you're saying. A lot of religions definitely the way religion is taught does have a basis on the foundation of how somebody might take something as far as their perspectives of things, the way they act. But at the same time, people should realize, that just because it's a word, just because it's something written, doesn't mean that everything is factual. They shouldn't take it, verbatim. I mean, it's just to include what you said about religion. I know in Christianity it says, that it basically you should only have one God, and if basically it basically says that every other God is a false God. So I mean, realistically, that's that. I don't think that should be. I mean, there's a lot of things in the Bible that just can be that just contradicts itself. Why would you have somebody who's benevolent who would say, "Oh, you can't worship anybody but me"? I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever. If you really are a God of of peace and love, why would you not allow people to just be who they want to be? Why wouldn't you just allow everybody to have their own thought as far as what they conceive is right? I know there's definitely a fine line, and it's definitely it can be blurred sometimes, the line between what's right and what's wrong, because there's a lot of things that's in different areas it can be considered right and can be considered wrong, where in the United States something that you might be doing might be considered completely fine, where in a third world country that's that's blasphemy. You shouldn't be done, whether it's the consumption of a certain animal, whether it's the way you dress, the way you act towards your significant other. But a lot of those things definitely, as you were saying, it can have a psychological effect on people, because if they're raised, this is like you said, you're bred that way. If you're raised believing that certain things are correct, then you have that mindset that I'm allowed to do this. I should be able to do this regardless of what anybody says. I understand that from the way I was raised, that if I do this, I should not get punished for it. But that's not how we should be taught. We should be taught this is right, this is wrong. You need to consider the outcome of what what you're doing and the possibilities that it could lead to. But
Well, I'm gonna kind of play the devil's advocate a bit here, I guess. Christianity likes to say that, well, not Christianity, but a lot of religions, they like to say that atheism really doesn't have any ground in moral judgment, and that we can't make moral truths. And it's very, I think that's personally an idiotic argument.
Yeah, I mean, I
The fact that yes, there are people who do bad things, and yes, there's evil in the world, but for the majority of humanity, we're compassionate people, and compassionate people do things to take care of one another. We're not going to do anything to sit there and subvert our own humanity. Anytime you see a human, somebody die on fucking Facebook now, I guess, or you see somebody get their head chopped off, you feel bad. You don't want that to happen to that person. Now I guess we're a little bit harder. We've seen a lot of that now, and we've been subjected to a lot of that. So I guess we have become a little jaded in that, but at the same time, we're still compassionate. We still care about what happens to the people in the world. We don't want to sit there and just say, well, those people are on the other side of the world, let's not worry about them, because we understand that they're all humans, and that's what we are, and we need to worry about taking care of humanity. And part of that has, that means we got to take care of our climate. That means we got to take care of ourselves as humans. That means we have to take care of the things that are around us that sustain our way of life as humans. Like, all of that encompasses being a humanist and living a good moral life. And that's what I guess humanism more than atheism brings to the table, is that moral truth to things. The fact that we can have moral truths without having a dogmatic religion or some invisible fucking whatever up in the sky telling us that we have to act a certain way. I know that I can come up with those moral truths myself, and that they will be good because I don't want to hurt anybody else. Naturally, I don't. That's just how I want to live my life. I'd rather not hurt other people, because it does me no good to hurt people, like, without a reason. It does me absolutely no good. And then if there's a reason, it better be a damn good fucking reason. Like, it better be life or death for me. And that's the way that I see things. If I'm gonna go and hurt somebody, like, I better be in so much trouble that I'm gonna die. Like, I will cease to exist unless I do something to hurt that person. And most of the time, I would try to incapacitate that person before I'd kill them. No matter what they did. No matter what they did to me, I would go out of my way to not kill that person. Because I have no right to take anybody's life. None whatsoever. I think that should be completely off the table for all humans. I think we need to sit down and say that we don't have the right to take anybody else's life without just cause. And that being, it's life or death. You're going to die if you don't do something about it. And that's period. You have people out here nowadays just killing for religion. Killing for somebody that they've never met before, that they'll never meet, that, because they break their own commandments, because the books that they read are so just backwards and conflicting, that whatever they do, they're breaking a commandment. Any Christian who's killed has broken a commandment, no matter what it's for. Even if they just stone somebody to death for uh, getting a divorce. They still killed. It still doesn't justify the action. It's clearly a contradiction, and I just don't, you know, I don't know. I don't see how people don't see that contradiction there. How you can, in the same Ten Commandments, have something that says, you know, you'll be stoned to death for adultery, but then have a verse that says, "Thou shalt not kill." That is a clear contradiction. I mean, I see it.
Yeah, it's like who's going to be doing the stoning? You know, since we're not allowed to murder, who's gonna commit the murder?
Exactly. And, you know, and you know, you have the Christians who say that Jesus is like, you know, oh well, you know, those who cast the first stone. What is the verse? Basically saying that those without sin cast the first stone. That's what it is. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, and that kind of solves that. But then Jesus himself, and verses further, I believe that it was. I have it saved here. Let me see if I can get into my. I wonder if it'll shut the video off if I close out. Oh, just hide the application. I'm gonna test this out. Did it close it out?
No, just the video went away. But
Oh,
yeah, on the basis of what you're saying, I definitely I see what you're saying with that. Is I mean, but at the same time, I agree what you're saying. But there's also a basis that if you're raised a certain way to believe that something something is right, then a lot of times it's not about what your personal thought is. For example, racism. There's a lot of people who are bred thinking, oh, it's okay, to be racist. And yes, to a certain point, I believe everybody should think upon that. Is this the right decision? But when you're brought up a certain way, not everybody has that fortitude to start thinking for themselves, that logical sense to say, maybe this is not right. Some people are like, well, this is what my parents have said. This is what has been done. This is what I've seen. So obviously it is correct. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that's right. Absolutely. That's absolutely the wrong answer. But when you have that, that is what causes a lot of issues in the world, because you have some that are raised in that situation where, oh, hey, everybody else is below me. So why should I treat them like that? And that's not just about race. It's about it has to do with money as well. I mean, look at people who have money versus people who don't have money. How there's so many people who treat others like crap just because they don't have the financial means like these other people do. I don't believe if I was rich and I found somebody who literally, had to work 3 jobs to go to the same school I would not treat them no differently. As a matter of fact, I would respect them more because of the fact that they made it to where I made it, and I feel like I didn't work as hard as they did. To me, that's respectful. The fact that this person can make it to the altitude that I have made it without, what I have. And it's like people don't understand that. If this person, if somebody fights as hard as they fight to make it to where they're at, then why should they be looked at why should they be looked at in such a way as to, oh, they should not be here. I don't know how they made it here. Let's break them. Let's get them out of here. No, if anything, they more than anybody should be here. And in that sense, the reason I say that is because the United States, it's a melting pot. And a lot of times the biggest issues is that we treat each other so differently, regardless of, people are, I don't like Mexicans, or I don't like Asians. I don't like, why don't you like them? Oh, they're coming over here. They're coming over here. They're working just as hard as everybody else. They're doing as much as they possibly can. They're not doing anything to you, but you're treating them differently. So when they look at you, they're not looking at you as somebody who, when they come here, they look at everybody here like, why am I getting treated like this? So then they start taking that in, and it starts corrupting them. And then people start to change over the years. Oh, don't trust these people because, when my grandfather got here, everybody disliked him, everybody hated him, everybody treated him like crap. So now this family is going to treat everybody else like, terrible because they were treated terrible. And over time, that's where we get to where we're at right now, where nobody can work together properly. Nobody can say, hey, that's my brother, that's my sister. Everybody is, oh, I don't know that person. Oh, I'm not gonna hang out with him. Oh, I can be his friend. No, I can't be his friend. He's from wherever he's from. And then we have this whole issue of corruption where people are treated differently. People are killed when they shouldn't be. People are treated like they're meaningful. It just baffles me the fact that anybody would treat somebody different like that, because like everybody knows we all bleed the same. We all, when we die, we all become the same thing. So why should my face be looked at? If I walk into, if I go with Shield and I go to a certain restaurant, why should I be looked at differently than him? We both have the same amount of money in our pockets. We both work at the same location. We both do the same thing, but they'll look at me differently as opposed to they'll look at that, and that kills me why people do that.
I mean, we can't escape our own prejudices, like it's inherent within us that we're going to, I don't know, be more drawn to our own race than another race. But we can fight that, by not letting it actually affect our perception of, that person. Instead of seeing, oh, hey, there's a thug over there, like, why not just say, oh, there's another person? Like, unless they look like they're going to harm you, and by look like they're going to harm you, I don't mean they're just black, um, then there's no reason to act all like scared and shit, like, I don't know, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, there's a good way to tell if people are gonna harm you or not. Okay, like there's pretty clear ways that I think that that somebody's gonna harm you. You know, it's usually the greatest thing about the human brain is that it picks up on people's body language so well. And it does a pretty good job of it. We've had years and years of evolution to build up that trait in our brain that we can pick up. Like, that's why we pick up sign language, and that's why people who go deaf, they can actually read lips, which is nuts. But it's all about, language is just how the shape of the mouth is. And if you can memorize that, then you know exactly what they're saying most of the time. If they're clear speakers, and
That's
usually most good uh, sight readers or lip readers are good, and they can pretty much have a full-on conversation with you, and you wouldn't even know. And that's crazy. People need to realize that we're all drastically different. Okay, we're all we're a diverse species for sure. Okay.
Hey, could you guys hold on real quick? I'm going to restart the stream. I'm going to invite y'all back to the call. I'm going to try to get some other people in.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.